Hello and welcome to the Cardio Advisor videocast. And today we're actually out and about in a brand new car. But can you guess what it is? Well, okay, you don't have to think anymore. It's the new Ford Focus. It's the 1.5 Zetec Nav with 120 horsepower diesel engine. And in this short test, I'll tell you all about it, all its good points, some of the points that could be improved, but you'll get a great idea of what this car is like. So stay tuned for the Cardio Advisor videocast. Well, here we are in the brand new Ford Focus. This is the ST Nav, which is the 1.5 turbo diesel, producing 120 brake horsepower. And it's a lovely car. It's bigger, it's wider, it's more practical, and it's certainly quieter than the old one. In fact, the old one, well, it was quite a competent car. This one really takes a big leap forward. And as you see when I start to drive the car, it's just a lot better in every way. But let's have a quick look at the interior. I've got this lovely 3-spoke steering wheel here. I've got also the sat nav, which comes as standard. One of the easiest Bluetooth connections I've ever done in any car, I have to say. It just did it straight away when I looked on my phone and paired it within a few seconds. There's a lot of knee room as well when you simply get into the car. You look at all the room I've got here. I'm about 5'9", and it's really easy to get a very comfortable driving position. You've got normal dashboard lights. I'll start it up and you can see here. Make sure I actually press the clutch, it requires that. But it's not all digital, but I've got trip computers, I've got my speedo on the right, rev counter on the left, your fuel consumption and your temperature. It has different driving modes as well. For example, you can have normal, or you can have, there we go, if it comes on, like that. You've got the normal driving mode, or you've got eco, which is, I've been using that one quite a bit, and on average it's been doing about 50 miles to the gallon. It's there 49.1, but to be fair, when you're doing over 70 on a motorway or in a dual carriageway, it easily does well over 50, which is brilliant. In fact, in some cases it's into the 60s, so it's a very economical car. It also tells you the speed limits as well, so you can watch out for speed cameras and things like that. And it has a huge range of features. This one has like lane departure control and a number of other features, not always as standard, but it is pretty good. I like the interior quality. There's some nice kind of mock carbon dashboard materials there, and you've got this lovely threaded steering wheel with the nice stitching. It feels of good quality and everything seems to work. The seats are very comfortable. Only thing I would say, I've only had a fairly short drive of about 40 miles so far, but the bottom part of the seat there isn't maybe as much lateral support as I would maybe like, but depending on your size, you might find actually it's absolutely fine, and it's okay. I do think overall the car would be comfortable on a long trip. And I was saying things like visibility, as you can see here, it's very good. It was easy to move the mirrors and just to basically get into the car and drive. What you have to remember is the Ford Focus, this is a fleet car, but a lot of families buy it too. In fact, if you've been to any airport recently in Britain or abroad and you've rented a car, it's very likely that it will be a Ford Focus. So the car has to be easy to drive, easy to simply jump in and get on with your trip, and that it succeeds at very well. But it's not just on the basics that it does rather well. It's on its looks and of course on its handling and its driving ability too. So let's get out onto the road and see what it's like. Right, let's get out and drive. Now, the first thing you notice is just how quiet this car is. You can tell it's a diesel, but it's really not bad. In fact, the noise is actually quite nice and it is extremely quiet. Even at slow speeds, the ride quality is quite good. It probably is a bit more firm than in some other cars perhaps, but that does pay off in the handling, as we'll see a bit later on. The controls are really easy to use, very, very simple, and anyone can get used to this in a few seconds. What I do like is that the gears are very slick. It has an electric handbrake which releases as soon as you head off, so it's nice and easy, and you're never going to have problems hopefully in readjusting your handbrake when it comes to MOT time. I have to say, these cars now are so much better than they used to be, and it's hard not to buy a dud. But where the Focus really stands out is that it's very incisive. When you go into a nice set of corners, this car really does hold its own. And I mean, it doesn't take much lock to get around a nice corner, and if you're on a nice A road, as I say, it's a lovely drive. You're going to have a lot of fun. This car will be economical, doing over 50 to the gallon, if you drive it sensibly, and on a long journey it should be well into the 60s. The sound quality for the stereo is excellent, and as I mentioned earlier, Bluetooth connections are very, very easy, so you'll have no problem at all in getting the kind of connections you need. And certainly the quality of the interior is a huge amount better. The old one was a little bit more cramped and maybe not quite as good materials used, but this is a completely different matter. I think Ford have made a big step up when making this car. Now, it is a bit wider than before, and you do feel that. Certainly as I'm coming here to about to go on a road, which is a normal A road size, but with parked cars, you do have to stop to give way, where maybe in some other cars you might feel that you can just nip through. And you have to watch that when you park it, because in most supermarket car parks, it seems like the spaces are getting smaller, and this car will certainly take up a full space. But would you buy one of these over something else? Well, if you're in the market for a hatchback, and there are so many options, it's not just a matter of the Golf, the Astra, the Focus. I mean, how many other ones can you list? The Giulietta perhaps, the Fiat Tipo if you're looking more for a budget hatchback. There are simply endless numbers of cars. You've got the Kia Ceed, the Hyundai i30. How many more can I list? Perhaps you could put some in the comments if I've missed anything. It's a very competitive field of cars, but with this Focus, I think you're going to find that you're going to get a car that you actually will want to keep. Sometimes you can have cars that are memorable, make you think, I'm glad I bought that, but that gave us a good few years of work. This car, I think, will certainly give you an effective and efficient kind of working car to use every day, but it'll do this more than that. It'll actually give you a lot of fun. When you change the modes, which you can do from normal to economy to sport, it's actually really quite quick. For a 1.5 turbo diesel, it's really not bad at all, giving you more than enough power to be able to overtake cars when you need to. But it's quiet enough that it's not going to take over. It's not got rock hard suspension, or you pay for it in other means. It's just a very, very good all-rounder. The other thing, of course, is the price. Whenever you buy a Ford, you know that there should be a good deal. Now, a little word of warning. We're looking at some of the PCP deals on the Ford website. Some of them do demand quite a big deposit to kind of bring down the monthly payments. And remember, on PCPs, you want to make sure that you're putting the minimum amount down that you can. Now, at the end of the video, we'll show you exactly how much it will cost to get a car like this on a PCP, and also on contract hire or a personal lease. Because you might find that on those systems, either perhaps the lease or the low deposit PCP, you might actually get a much better deal. Now, Ford kind of know about this, so they'll always try and see what they can do. But remember, when you're getting finance, you really want to have the least amount of deposit possible and try and get the lowest monthly rate you can. So here we are on an open A road, heading off into the countryside. This is where the Focus really is so easy and nice to drive. I mean, here we are, we're doing 60 miles an hour, and you can hardly hear a thing. there are no rattles. Now you might think, well, in a brand new car, it certainly shouldn't be, and this car has barely done 130 miles. But no, there's a genuine step up in the quality of this car. It is really, really nice. Now, the boot is decent size, it's very competitive for the class, and again I'll put the specifications on the video at the end of the show because that's not really what you want to know at the moment. You can have car seats in the back. We've got one there, as you'll see in the pictures, and there's easily room for another one, if not even two. Now it depends of course on the size of seat. Booster seats are much easier to fit in, but if you want ISOFIX you can get that as well, and they have easy clips on for the seats for ISOFIX car seats. But this is a car that you will actually just like to drive. In fact, if you need a long journey, if you're travelling from London to Edinburgh or something like that, it's not going to be difficult. It's going to be really, really easy. Plus you've got onboard sat-nav, so you don't have to rely on your own mobile phone and your 4G usage on your bill. If you're a Scotsman like me, that's always a good thing when someone else is paying for that, although you've probably paid for it well in the car. But this is a nice, easy car to drive that really shouldn't give you any major faults. Ford's a pro. So here we are once more on the open road in the Ford Focus CTEC Nav 120 turbo diesel. This is the kind of road that this car was made for. It's easy to stick into the speed limit without any hassles, but before you know it, you'll be settling at just around 60 miles an hour, and every corner you come to is as easy as anything. It slices into veins with a tiny bit of lock, and actually gives you a remarkable amount of feel for an electric power steering system. They've certainly come on an awful long way. And it points to the centre, and it's easy just to have your hand on the wheel and sit there and enjoy the drive. Now this is a car I really don't see being disappointed with. It's just really good in every way. I think the looks are lovely. You'll see with some of the pictures, especially the three-quarter look is fantastic. Get a good strong metallic colour. I think things like white or the kind of racing blue that they have, which is what some of the STs are going to be in. It's a lovely, lovely metallic colour. And get the nice big alloys. I definitely think the ST version stands out, and it's one that you should mark out if you're looking for the Ford Focus. I simply think that when it comes to trade-in time, this one will always be worth a bit more money than just the entry-level versions. Things like the Vignale and the other ones, I'm not so sure you should put your money into things like that. It's it gets to quite high list prices if you're going to buy the top of the range models. I think the ST is the one that people like because everybody wants a sporty Ford. They like the Focus and the Escort previous to that. Anything that looks nice and sporty with a Ford badge tends to do rather well. So that's certainly what I would be going for. But you'll notice just how quiet this car is. There's a little bit of wind noise, but bear in mind it's been gale force winds over the last few days, so we're still kind of getting a bit of that around here in the countryside. But it's very, very quiet. I've really not had any issues at all. It just goes to show that when Ford makes a really, really decent car, when they put their minds to it, they come up with something really class leading. It's hard to see how other cars could be really that much better. And I know the new Golf is coming out with potentially questionable looks, as the early pictures have shown. But I think this car, though, if you're looking for a Ford, or if you've maybe never had a Ford before, you won't go far wrong with this new Focus. Now, they're not that cheap. We'll have the price in at the end of the show for you to see. But I think overall this car, yes, it's going to depreciate, but overall it's going to be pretty comparable, if not maybe even a little bit better than some of its rivals. So there you have it, the Ford Focus. It's a brilliant car, it's easy to drive, there's always good deals on them, and of course you can come to cardoadvisor.co.uk, just fill in the form or send us an email, or you can contact us on our Facebook page or on Twitter. Just go to @cardoadvisor and you can get in touch, and we'll make sure you get a fantastic deal, because on cars like this there's anything from £3,500 and upwards to save, so it's well worth getting in touch if you're looking for a new Focus. But we'll leave it at that for today. It's been great talking to you, and until our next video, safe driving, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.